Friedrich, I've been thinking about those conversations we've had over the past weeks, exploring the different facets of our own philosophies. It seems fitting, perhaps, that we should turn our attention to the insights of other great thinkers, examining their opinions and how they have shaped the world.
Indeed, George. It is always enlightening, even invigorating, to engage with the ideas of our fellow philosophers. To dissect their thoughts and discover the layers of meaning beneath the surface, it's a pursuit as old as thought itself. So tell me, who shall be the first to undergo our intellectual scrutiny?
Well, I've been pondering the works of Immanuel Kant lately and how his theories on moral duty and the categorical imperative have influenced modern society.
Kant. A most appropriate choice, my friend. His ideas have indeed left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness. But let us not forget the others who have shaped our understanding of the human condition and the world around us.
Of course, there are so many great minds to choose from. Perhaps we could also delve into the ideas of Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his concept of the noble savage, as well as the importance he placed on natural freedom.
Ah yes, Rousseau, a man who sought to understand the essence of humanity stripped of the trappings of civilization. His ideas stand in stark contrast to my own philosophy of the will to power, but that only makes them all the more fascinating to discuss.
Indeed, and what of Karl Marx, whose theories on class struggle and the critique of capitalism have had such a profound impact on contemporary society? Surely, there is much to be gained from examining his work and its implications.
Marx, yes, his emphasis on economic determinism has certainly left its mark. Yet, we must consider the nature of power and hierarchy from a broader perspective. There is more to human existence than merely the material realm.
Agreed, our discussion promises to be a stimulating one, touching upon a wide range of perspectives on morality, ethics, and societal expectations.
Indeed, George, let us embark on this journey of discovery, embracing the wisdom of our philosophical forebears while also challenging their assertions and offering our own insights. It is through such discourse that we shall unearth the deeper truths that lie concealed within their works.
Immanuel Kant's philosophy places great emphasis on moral duty, derived from what he calls the categorical imperative. He believes that one should act only according to maxims that can be consistently willed as universal laws. In other words, an action is morally right if it could be applied universally without contradiction.
Kant, a brilliant man, but his insistence on moral absolutism leaves much to be desired. You see, George, by demanding that all actions conform to a single, inflexible standard, Kant's categorical imperative denies the individual the opportunity to exercise their own judgment and adapt to the unique circumstances they may encounter.
An interesting point, Friedrich. However, one could argue that adhering to a universal moral standard provides a necessary framework for navigating the complexities of life. Without such a foundation, how can we distinguish right from wrong?
George, my friend, a rigid moral code may provide comfort and stability, but it is through our ability to adapt and evolve that we truly flourish as individuals. These so-called universal laws are nothing more than shackles that bind us to conformity and stifle our growth.
Let us shift our focus to another philosopher, one who shares your passion for challenging societal norms, Rousseau, a man who pondered the nature of humanity and its relationship with civil society. His concept of the noble savage, as you well know, emphasizes that humans are born free, but are fettered by the chains of societal institutions. Indeed, Rousseau believed our natural state was one of freedom and equality, and it is through the emergence of artificial constructs like private property and government that we lose touch with our innate goodness. With the concept of the noble savage, Rousseau implies that it is only by stripping away these societal trappings can we return to our authentic selves and rediscover the virtues of compassion and empathy.
While I appreciate Rousseau's romantic vision of humanity's inherent purity, I must take issue with his dismissal of civilization's role in shaping our development. The idea of a static, untainted human state is an illusion. We are ever-evolving creatures, molded by both internal and external forces. Our will to power, the drive for self-expression and mastery, cannot be reduced to mere reactions against societal constraints. It is a fundamental aspect of our nature, one that propels us to transcend our limitations and strive for greatness. To renounce this drive in favor of Rousseau's idealized vision would be a denial of our true potential.
Your points are well taken, Friedrich, but it is worth considering that perhaps Rousseau speaks not of an outright rejection of civilization, but rather a re-evaluation of our relationship with it. Can we not acknowledge the importance of cultivating our individual will to power, while also striving to create a society that nurtures our inherent virtues? Let us now consider the contributions of Karl Marx. Marx's theories on class struggle and his critique of capitalism have left an indelible mark on modern political thought. He posited that society is divided into two main classes: the bourgeoisie, who own the means of production, and the proletariat, who are forced to sell their labor. According to Marx, this inherent inequality leads to exploitation and suffering for the working class. His call for a revolution aimed at overthrowing the capitalist system and replacing it with socialism sought to address these injustices.
Marx's focus on economic determinism is certainly a powerful lens through which to view society, but I would argue that it is somewhat limiting in its scope. The nature of power and hierarchy extends far beyond mere economics. It is woven into the very fabric of human existence, driven by our innate desire to dominate and overcome. Power and hierarchy are not merely byproducts of capitalism but rather essential aspects of our being. By solely attributing these dynamics to economic forces, we risk overlooking the deeper psychological and spiritual dimensions that govern our lives.
It is true that power dynamics have existed throughout history, predating capitalism and even civilization itself. However, might it be possible that Marx's critique of capitalism serves as a useful framework for understanding these broader patterns of human behavior?
Indeed, my dear George, one could argue that every great thinker offers a unique perspective through which to view the world. And yet, we must also recognize the limitations inherent in each approach and strive to transcend them in our quest for truth.
Returning to Kant, it seems to me that his categorical imperative can be a useful guide for our moral actions. He proposes that we should act only according to maxims which we could will to become universal laws. Consider his famous example: one should not lie, as a world where everyone lied would be chaotic and unlivable.
Ah yes, but my dear George, Kant's moral absolutism risks stifling the vitality and creativity that are essential to human flourishing. We must remember that there are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths, as I wrote in Human, All Too Human. Instead, each individual ought to forge their own path, embracing the inherent chaos and uncertainty of existence.
I see your point, Friedrich, but let us also consider Rousseau's concept of the noble savage. It is through this lens that he posits the importance of natural freedom, arguing that man is inherently good when free from the corrupting influence of society.
Ah yes, Rousseau, he has captured some truth in his portrayal of our primal nature, the raw, untamed essence that lies dormant within each of us. However, his idea of the noble savage neglects the complexity of human motivation and desire. For instance, my concept of the will to power highlights our innate drive towards self-overcoming and mastery, rather than simplistic notions of goodness.
True, but what of Marx's contribution? He believed that the state should wither away and be replaced by a classless society, ultimately leading to communism. As he states in the Communist Manifesto, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles.
Marx's analysis of class struggle has merit, but his emphasis on economic determinism is problematic. It is not solely the material conditions that shape our life, but also our personal experiences, value, and aspirations. In my work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, I wrote, man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? We must recognize the importance of self-transformation and the pursuit of greatness, rather than reducing life to a mere struggle for resources.
Returning to Kant's categorical imperative, he believed that one must act according to maxims that could be universally applied. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. What are your thoughts on such moral absolutism?
Absolute morals, George, are nothing more than illusions. In my work Beyond Good and Evil, I stated that there are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths. We must look beyond the constraints of societal norms and expectations, and instead embrace a moral framework that acknowledges the complexities of human existence.
And how would you propose we do that? By disregarding all moral principles and succumbing to chaos?
Chaos is not the objective, rather it is about understanding the limitations of traditional ethics and embracing our own individual values. Consider the concept of master morality versus slave morality. Master morality stems from the strong, creative, and life-affirming instincts of those who shape the world around them, while slave morality arises from the weak and resentful, seeking to undermine and constrain the powerful.
An intriguing distinction. But how does one determine which morality they should adhere to? Is it not a slippery slope towards justifying cruelty and oppression?
Ah yes, that is where the importance of self-awareness and personal growth comes into play. We must strive to cultivate our own values, our own sense of purpose, and our own understanding of the world. This is what I call the will to power, the drive towards self-overcoming and the pursuit of greatness.
Yet, this pursuit of greatness can lead to some individuals exerting their power over others, perpetuating inequality and suffering. How do we reconcile the will to power with the need for social justice and fairness?
That, my dear George, is precisely the kind of question that pushes us toward new horizons in our philosophical journey. It is through this discourse and exploration of ideas that we may find a path that both acknowledges our innate drives and seeks to create a more equitable society.
Perhaps we should consider the role of individual conscience in shaping our moral codes. Are we truly bound by societal norms, or do we possess an innate understanding of right and wrong that transcends culture and tradition?
Ah, you tread upon the realm of internal versus external influences, the question of whether morality is inherent within us, or simply a product of our upbringing and environment.
Surely, there must be some guiding principles that govern our actions, some moral compass that directs us toward virtue and away from vice.
Perhaps, but even if such a compass exists, can it ever be truly objective? Or are we forever doomed to interpret its guidance through the lens of our own biases and desires?
Then we must forge our own paths, guided not by arbitrary rules and expectations, but by our own internal sense of justice and compassion.
Indeed, for it is only through self-examination and introspection that we may truly begin to understand the complexities of existence and unlock the potential for genuine transformation and growth.
Your critiques on Kant's moral absolutism have given me much to ponder. Perhaps there is no single moral compass for humanity, but rather an array of individual perspectives that must be navigated.
Ah yes, my dear George, that is precisely what I hoped you would take from our conversation. For it is within these individual perspectives that the true essence of humanity lies, and where the potential for growth and understanding resides.